Hey, folks, we are live in all the different places. I'm once again testing this with a Facebook group. It's so weird because like it works, like it shows up and then it just says nah. Um, However, hope everyone's doing well today. I am doing, I don't know, I'm like, as the title suggests, I'm perhaps adulting too much. And I really need to work on that because, you know, all fun and no play makes Mallory a dull girl. So wait, all work and no play. Was it a Freudian slip? I don't know. All right, I'm gonna click the button and see if it goes live in the Facebook group. If it doesn't, then that's fine. We'll just abandon it. Jill tells me other people can go live in their Facebook group, so I'm starting to think it's just Facebook doesn't like me because I've tried it from multiple computers. Hey, Victoria, and hi, Melody as well. But you are having a fabulous day, the both of you. Yeah, so like I tell you, this moving to another country thing turns out to be a lot of work. Just in case anyone was curious about it, um, it's just a little thing. Um, we're all here as of last Friday. Jill came up. She is a visitor, and she's staying as a visitor for the amount of time visitors are allowed to stay, um, with an extension, etc. But it's possible that she might get a permanent residency while she's still here as a visitor, which is fabulous. But if not, then we'll figure something out. But it is nice to like actually all be here together in Canada. Border crossing with like all of our worldly possessions was shockingly easy. Well, I mean, easy at the border, not easy for the 4 weeks beforehand that we panicked and like contacted border services like 7 times and whatnot. Um, but we got all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. And many of them, like we did so many things, and they're like, you did not need to do all of this. It's fine. It was quite nice. They're like, we want you to come home to Canada. It was kind of cool to get to do that. But now that we're here and we have replaced all that, now we're like, okay, what about the business? How do we move a business from one country to another? So that's our current adventure. Although yesterday I actually went into a bank and sat with a bank account person in person and opened bank accounts for the first time in like a billion years that I've had to do something like that. Like I literally cannot remember the last time I went into a bank to open a bank account. I'm pretty sure that the entire 25 years that I lived in the United States, I never actually set foot in a bank. Um, I'm I'm actually, yeah, I'm completely certain of it. Other than like maybe if the bank had an ATM machine, I would set foot in it enough to use the ATM machine in the lobby, but I like never stepped into a bank. But because we're opening like a new kind of cross-border account, that one has to be done in person. You have to show all sorts of ID and stuff like that. And I'd actually rather show my ID in person rather than like having to upload it to different forms on the internet and that sort of thing. I feel like it's better just to be like have them look at it and be like, yes, I saw the ID, it's good. I'm curious though, Linda, what are you procrastinating on? What kind of adulting are you procrastinating on right now? And hello, Cytheros. Um, let's get remove a message there on the screen. So yeah, so that's been my adulting. I use RBC for Easy Canada, U.S. banking. Yeah, I think it's going to be easy. I hope we're using TD Bank, um, largely because where we live in the states, should we need to go back there for any reason, it's lousy with TD banks. They're everywhere, so it will make life nice and easy. Um, but yeah, it was actually all painless, and I got my I think I might have had a Canadian credit card like 27 years ago, but I can't remember if it was a credit card or just a debit card, but I got a shiny new Canadian credit card and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, hardcore adulting going on over here. Um, and and yeah, so now we've decided we're learning things like continuation of business into Canada or starting a new business for a corporation. Do we shut it down in the United States? Is it better to leave it going? And we've actually done like Jill and I have not used an accountant in the United States because we sort of eased into all the business stuff and we learned about it bit by bit as we went. Um, and had it all figured out. But I tell you, cross-border stuff, like you got to be careful because you don't want to end up with like some sort of crazy tax burden in a different country. So we will be using lawyers and accountants to help with us with all that sort of thing. So Liam says, we opened an account in the DR when we were visiting a few years ago. So that's nice. That's good. Yeah, we kind of like got here and then did all the things. Now it's just everything else. And everything is a lot, isn't it? Isn't it, William? Um, I imagine there's a whole slew of other things. Like Canada and the United States are at least fairly well integrated. So there's a lot of systems for if you're coming. It's like if you're coming into Canada from the United States, here's your list of things. Anywhere else, here's your list of things. So we were actually pretty fortunate in that regard. Oh, ads. Well, I mean, the only way to find out is to do it, Linda. You'll never get better at ads by not doing them. That's what I've talked to a lot of people about. People are scared to run ads or don't want to try, and I'm like, well, you're not going to get any better at them not running them. The only way you'll actually get better at running ads is to run them, and it's a skill. It's not something you're going to knock out of the park the first time. You're not going to ace it. You do have to actually like learn and get it going. I went shopping and hired a new cleaner. I saw your posts. That's some adulting. It's good. It's a good level of adulting. Um, yeah, it was like I still haven't heard back from that other company that like wanted me to send in my passport, a picture of my passport via email. I'm still flabbergasted that someone would actually seriously ask for that. And I'm also saddened by the fact that people will do that, because even if someone like can have like secure email within their corporation, it ain't secure as it traverses the public internet. So William says, what are you going to do January and February? Kick you in the gonads. Winter is serious in Canada. I grew up on the prairies in the winter, William. I can handle New Brunswick's winters. That's actually one of the reasons specifically why we decided to live right on the coast, because right on the coast is a lot warmer because the ocean keeps things warm. Um, so much different than being inland during the winter. That's a whole different ball of wax. I'm not super keen on that. That's actually one of the reasons why we might consider moving to Nova Scotia at some point, because it's a lot warmer there in the winter than it is here because of the Gulf Stream. New Brunswick is pretty. I tell you, growing up in Saskatchewan, I did not have an appreciation for how gorgeous it is out here. It's like beautiful, and like we live right next to a fjord. And it's funny that a lot of people who live here don't realize it's a fjord, but technically it's a fjord, which is an ocean inlet with high cliffs. And that's where we live. So, oh, thanks, Sean. It's nice to see you. Most of the time when I do these streams, this is more author business stuff. I do talk about my books sometimes, but it can be just sort of fun to hang out. I don't have like a lot of like really businessy. Actually, I do have some businessy topics today, but some of it I think people are just kind of curious about our move to Canada. So I thought I'd share a little bit of that stuff. My husband's boss asked for my email and password to help him with paperwork. Your password to what? To your email? That sounds kind of horrifying. Oh man. I mean, it's something to consider. I mean, one of the things we did coming up here and landing in St. John, like a big part of coming to St. John for us was we knew it was going to be me, Eva, and 3 cats in a vehicle. And there's kind of a time limit to how long you want to spend with 3 cats in a vehicle. And so a lot of part of it about St. John was like we could get a place here really cheap, really quick, and it's not a long drive from Boston. It's like 7 hours. 7 hours if you spend an hour at the border, kind of thing. Like it's actually pretty quick, or like you stop for food. So that was a big part of it. And whereas getting to Halifax is like an additional 4 hours. So we're kind of like on that front. But Nova Scotia looks pretty nice, and we plan to actually like wander around the Atlantic provinces and see what we see. One of the things that kind of boggles my mind in a way is how, like in the States, the Northeast Atlantic area is like the bulk of the country practically. Like if you take out California, the Northeast United States is population-wise is the majority of the country in the industry. And in Canada, the Atlantic is like a backwater. It's kind of funny how that sort of thing happens. And obviously the Gulf of St. Lawrence is a big reason for that. Whereas so all the trade actually happens in Toronto instead, or thereabouts. But I just find it fascinating how like it's super not center of industry and commerce like it would be in the US. Like just like We're like 500 miles south, and boom, center of industry and commerce. Anyway, certain types of industry at least. Let's see, William. So you guys are getting all the Canadian talk here. If you're not Canadians, you're getting the extra Canadian talk. Plus, some of the Maritimes were beautiful and a bit exotic. Newfies are the best people in the entire country. I mean, they have to be, right, to survive out in that cold, wet rock on the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, you got to be pretty awesome to manage that. Plus, they have the nicest Irish accents. Yeah, I hope Jill can stay forever soon too. Yeah, of course, if you guys have any questions or any topics you want to discuss, anything on your mind, anything you've seen that you're curious about, my thoughts on, feel free to drop that in the comments. But whether I should have my first PWF series translated or run US ads is if it's an either or. Does it have to be an either or? Because translations are pretty cheap if you get AI translations done. If you're not thinking about getting AI translations, then it's quite a bit more expensive. So I kind of need to know more about your plan for the translation. Like running ads, you run a $10 a day ad for a month, that's $300. $300 will translate by AI like 4 or 5 books. So it might depend on what your plan is there. I would consider both if you could afford it. Get your books translated into French or German, possibly French with your content. I think your content would probably do better in France, and then also run US ads. And then you could run some small amount of French ads, just sort of help get some traction over there. Hey Jennifer, how are you doing? It's good to see you. I thought, Victoria, you were thinking about having us run your ads for you, so we could talk more about that, about how that can look. When I say AI, I mean generally something like Scribe Shadow, not just using ChatGPT, using a service like Scribe Shadow. Planning to set a future series in PEI. My father was a native, beautiful place. I would love to live in PEI, but Eva is not a fan. Eva gets car sick very easily and doesn't like boats either. So I'm like, could I actually get Eva across that bridge or across a boat to PEI to check it out? But I also heard recently that PEI doesn't actually have any rock. It's just a big lump of clay in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And I'm not sure how I feel about living on an island that doesn't have any rock. I don't know. I need to like validate that claim because it makes me a little bit nervous. All right, let's have it, William. Small brag. I finally managed to get 3 of 4 of my series. 3 of 4 of my series. Does that mean 3 series or 3 of the books? 3 of the 4 books in the series. I'm curious. Anyway, in the top 100 military fantasy the other day. It took me forever to get a working converting video trailer for the 3rd series. Okay, so it is series. 1 to go. That's actually really awesome, William. Congrats on that, because that's a competitive category too. I think that's really good. Very well done. Huge pat on the back. You've worked really hard for that too, so you deserve it. Gloss covers or matte covers for PNR? Gloss covers. Gloss. Gloss looks so much nicer. It makes your colors pop more. It's going to make the blues and purples, which most PNR have, some blue and purple, are going to look so much better. We used to, so back in the day, before Amazon printed books at all, there was CreateSpace, and Amazon bought CreateSpace. In the beginning, there was CreateSpace, and Amazon bought CreateSpace. And CreateSpace printed some of their stuff, and they had Ingram print some of their stuff. And the problem was that, and no one really ever figured out, I mean, sure, maybe some people figured this out. I never found out what the definitive answer was, but sometimes the glossy covers from CreateSpace would peel. The glossy film would kind of peel off and curl back, and other times it didn't. And we just sort of all assumed probably one of the printers is better at this than the other. And so the advice became use matte covers because they're not going to peel. That problem has long been solved. And I've actually been changing all of my matte covers for everything that I do over to gloss because they just look so much nicer. They pop so much more in book if you're selling the books in person, and the colors look a lot more vibrant, whereas the matte covers actually make things look kind of muddy. So all about gloss. And I don't even think it matters PNR or non-PNR. I think everyone should use gloss covers. But I think especially because of the kinds of colors that PNR uses a lot, gloss is going to be better, because purple is the hardest color to print. With computer screens, it's RGB. So to get purple, it's just halfway between red and blue. But printing is done in CMYK, so cyan, yellow, magenta, and then just brightness factor, I think is what the K is, right? It's like the coloring of the brightness. Anyway, purple is really hard to get from cyan, magenta, and yellow. It's a much harder color to achieve. So getting purple printed just right is actually pretty hard. So, and gloss does a better job of highlighting that. Jennifer's hanging in there. Husband got laid off, so got to work more. Oof, that makes things pretty rough because you've got a number of kiddos to take care of too. Hopefully he's able to find something soon. Okay, I did interpret that correctly. 3 out of 4 series. PEI are my favorite oysters. I have 0 favorite oysters, Victoria. There is no oyster that is my favorite oysters. I have a rule. This rule applies to anything that I eat. Mostly. There might be some things I'm unaware of that I'm eating that I shouldn't be eating, but I don't eat filters. In nature, there are creatures that are filters. Don't eat predators and don't eat filters, because predators rely on the sick and the old for most of their food. And so, of course, they're generally just a little bit more germy, more like they have parasites than other creatures. And filters, I don't eat filters. So if you want to have a weird character like me in a book, have them launch into a speech about how they don't eat predators or filters. I give you permission to use my oddities in a story. I've read on my colors. So Linda, people have mentioned that gloss does better with like showing off vibrant colors, because that's been my experience and why I end up switching all of my books over. Red will be a little bit less. I think reds tend to look pretty good even on matte, but I just think everything looks better in gloss. And the whole reason, like I said, why we went to matte was not because anyone ever thought that matte looked better. It was because the gloss covers were peeling. And this is all about like 7, 8, 9 years ago. I guess probably 10 years ago, actually. Yeah, 10 years ago. Yes, that's right. I was thinking like amount of brightness. And for some reason, I thought of it as color luminescence, because I was thinking of like how many K a light is. But yes, it's for black. You were right, Steph. And hi, Steph. How are you doing? How's life treating you? Hope things are well in Steph land. You're welcome, Linda. I'm guessing this is from my rant on oysters. Yeah, I'm just not an oyster person. I can't help it. I have had them. I've tried, but it just doesn't work for me. So yeah. So I'm doing something fun for myself. Is that I'm one of the biggest struggles that I've personally had over like the past 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, is balancing business with writing. Because unfortunately, my business is of helping writers makes it so I write less. And for me, and I think this is true for a lot of people, the analytical parts of my brain and the creative parts of my brain don't really sing kumbaya too much together. They don't get along a lot. So if I start my day doing a bunch of analytical stuff, my chances of actually writing creatively later in the day are pretty slim, unless I'm super regimented about it. So I'm actually doing a thing now where I'm only doing business calls every other week, and I'm going to focus more on my writing to get back to like being more of an author and getting more books out. And as much as I love helping other authors and working with other authors, I also like being an author, which I hopefully is part of my draw, that I also do this for a living. But yeah, so I'm doing that, and I'm pretty excited about it. And actually, my calendar is clear enough that without really having to do any major moving of people, I'm actually able to achieve that pretty quickly, which I'm stoked about. And I can get this damn book out that I'm almost done. I'm like in my final round of edits. Well, it's like I'll have some comments left to go through after I'm done, but the final round of edits will happen. The book is looking like it's going to close in on 160, 165K. So it's going to be pretty chunky, but I'm enjoying it so much. I'm really having that writing joy come back. I feel like actually having this move done and being up here in Canada has been a big part of that, because being in being in the States for the last, for me, like the last 9 to 12 months has been pretty stressful. So I'm very excited to be here and be able to relax a lot more. Melody says, with my next 8-month books planned for my current authors. I mean, 8 months of books or 8 more books. My current author genre, looking ahead, what's trend suggestions for romance? I can launch a new author name platform for testing the next series. You know, I am personally not a big trend chaser. Um, for me, the issue has always been that what I always ask people is, I'm like, hey, can you write faster if you're writing what you love? Because if you can put out more books in a given genre, then you're going to do better than if you can't put out that many books. Like volume, it has a quality all of its own, basically. Um, so if there's a subgenre of romance that you can write, that you're eager to write in, and you think you could write a lot of books in, I think that has to be one of the biggest considerations, if not the biggest consideration. If there's a trend but you're going to be miserable writing in it, and it takes you like a year to get a book out because you hate every minute of it, well, that's not going to do great. Versus if there's something that's like less trendy, but you can do 10 books in a year because they just like flow out of your fingers like crazy, then do the thing that you can write more of. I mean, like I've made $2 million writing military science fiction with queer women as the leads. It shouldn't exist. What I write shouldn't work, but it does, partially because I was able to put out so many books, and like I said, that the volume has a quality all of its own, and volume also belies. People think it not belies. It implies quality because people figure, well, if they weren't selling, the author wouldn't be able to make so many of them, kind of thing. I will say that, like, so one of the things I've also learned just by even just doing statistical analysis of this some years ago was that even the most niches of genres have like 500,000 people who read them, but unless if you don't get too nichey, you can like I don't know, like you're gonna say like psychic pets, queer women, military science fiction, I don't know, where everybody is part animal or something like that. Like that's niche of a niche of a niche kind of thing, and that's where you're getting a little bit smaller. But if you can like pull out one of those niche items, you can probably be in a place where you have a 1 million-person audience. And if you can get like a key core audience of 10,000 people reading your books, and you can put out 5 books a year, well, and each book you make, let's say $3 off of. So 3 times 5 times 10,000, $115,000 off of that. So it's actually very possible to make a decent living off of a relatively small readership, if you can put out, say, 5 books a year and make $3 a book. So that's why I've never been one to really go too strongly on genre chasing. I will say that there are certain romance elements that I find that are harder to market. Enemies to lovers doesn't seem to do as well as it used to. It seems to be harder to get people to read enemies to lovers than it used to. I think people might have got a little bit flooded with it. And second chance romance has also traditionally been something that's been pretty difficult to market compared to other like major tropes in romance. And that's like whether it's vampire, whether it's small town, no matter what, second chance romance is always sort of proven to be a hard one. Another thing that's harder to market in romance is when the women are the connection for the series. So it's a group of sisters, or like a group of female friends, and each book is one of their romances. Those don't do as well as if it's a group as if it's a group of guys. And the reason for that, I think, is actually fairly easy to deconstruct, is because in romance, the guy is the fantasy, right? The women generally self-insert into the female character to some extent, and then the guy is the fantasy. And when you have like a group of guy friends, the entire friend group is going to be in book one. The woman meets one of the guys. He introduces her to his male friend group, be it like hockey team, firefighter, whatever it might be, right? Motorcycle club. The first female main character is introduced to the group of guy friends. The author then creates this group of guy friends with a variety of different attractive and possibly in some cases like unattractive, but I want to fix him kind of qualities. And then now all of the books are fulfilling the fantasies of these the fantasies of a romance with these other guys. And so it's much easier to get read through on something like that. Whereas when the women are the connecting element, the female main character has this friend group, meets this one guy, and then the next book you have to sell the next guy more deliberately. So you have to make sure you fold the guy from book 2 is in book 1 pretty heavily. The guy from book 3 is in book 2. So you have to do a lot more work to kind of make sure you flow everything together. And I don't think that's done as well as often as when it's a woman meeting a group of guys. So that's one of the things I think too. So it's more like, it's less like, billionaire romance, billionaire vampire romance, or whatever it might be. And it's more the trope level of things that matters more with romance. And to be honest, it's like that across every genre. Like, and I've not done this analysis for sci-fi in a little bit here, like a couple of years now. But when I did like a really deep analysis of sci-fi like 2 years ago, what I found was that just about every book that was doing well was an underdog story. Underdog trope was dominating. Now there were some other like big series and big names and long-running series that were doing well. There was lots of stuff that was doing really good in the middle, but the top was dominated by underdog stories. It was like, Backyard Starship, Final Stand Against the Empire kind of books. It was like practically every cover that was doing well was like this one dude and up against immeasurable odds kind of thing. And though that trope was killer, but it was present across like a dozen subgenres of science fiction. So that's the kind of thing to look for, is to kind of look for that trope, and then find, because I think about a lot of us, we can write a trope, sure. It's the setting and the story that would be like, I couldn't write this. I can't write, P&R vampire romance, but I could write small town cowboy. Then the same trope can exist in both. So you kind of want to pick the one that works for you. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. All right, I'm way behind on comments now. Let me. Purefoot says best marketing advice comes from the struggles of being an author. So I agree. I think it's a comment response to me saying I like being an author. I wish I could say the States become less stressful. I wish I could say the States become less stressful up in Canada. As someone who's lived in the States and now Canada, I feel like the States is a little bit like, I feel like you still like open up Facebook or Threads or something like that, and you're still bombarded with American politics. That might be partially like my algorithm giving me a lot of that. But there's like a little bit of separation from it. Like, and I think for me, it's a little bit different because in Canada, the federal government has not said that they reject my existence, whereas in the States they have. So there's a little bit of like existential threat that I have in the States I don't have in Canada. I suppose if I didn't have the existential threat angle from being transgender, that I might feel almost as stressed in Canada as I did in the States. But there's like a little bit of a buffer I get being here. All right, so Troy says, if Eva can't do PEI or boats, you might be able to help with the annual puffin rescue. Puffins might be in your area. Let's see a bit of the Coopers tossing puffins out to sea. I'll have to look into that. I was not aware of any such thing with puffins, but that does sound kind of interesting. I tell you, around here though, like New Brunswick, at least the part of New Brunswick we're in, does not have gentle sloping it's not a gentle sloping into the ocean sort of thing. Like Massachusetts used to have some very big rivers. At some points they created the bays and whatnot. They're all a lot smaller now. Now the mountains are smaller and the ice age is over and all that. But it's very worn down at the ocean. Like the land just sort of drifts into the sea. So it's very easy to do a lot of things on the shore. Lots of stuff to do on the shore, lots of marshes and stuff like that. Here it's land, ocean. Like it's cliffs. Like I live next to a fjord, like high cliffs around a narrow inlet of the sea. It's pretty legit here. It's like it's awesome actually. Like I've never lived in a place where the land meets the sea at a 90-degree angle a lot of the time. So getting to the shore to do things like that might be tricky, but maybe there would be. Maybe further north around Moncton and stuff like that. It's like that. I love Sapphic and write easily, but maybe I need to focus on one evergreen trope. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, like you could, I mean, Sapphic is unfortunately a little bit harder to market. If you were to start writing MF, you might be able to do better just by making that switch alone. But Sapphic is on an upswing. I feel like it used to be like, oh, you write Sapphic, I'm sorry, welcome to your passion project. Now it's like you could actually make a living off of writing Sapphic romance, and that's been a big change. And like since pandemic, really is when that started to shift. So it's not the non-career genre that it used to be, but you'll make more money writing MF, just plain and simple. You have a bigger audience. It's easier to market to them. It's easier to find them. Finding the evergreen trope is big, and like MF Wilderness Man does great if you could bring yourself to write MF Alaskan romances as an option. But I don't know, I'm kind of curious where you lean on that. Like how important for you is that you keep writing Sapphic versus other things. Was your Creative Pen to a Creative Pen podcast with Derek Slanson talking about AI voice chapters you book on YouTube to monetize? YouTube does not cannibalize audiobooks. Thoughts? So I have every audiobook that I've done directly, so not through Tantor or Audible, because I have some with both of those. Everything that I did directly where I hired the narrator is up on YouTube in its entirety. And I haven't put anything up new in years because I haven't put anything new out in years and haven't done any new audio translations in years. Not that I paid for these. I have done some new ones with publishers. But everything I have is up there in its entirety. I did not experience it cannibalizing Audible at all. In fact, it boosted my Audible sales because I think a lot of people would encounter it on YouTube, like it, and decide they would rather listen to an Audible versus YouTube. But that being said, when I was uploading a lot of new content and whatnot, I made more money from from YouTube than I did from Audible. And I was getting like 100,000 impressions a month of people on YouTube. So it functioned as marketing, more money, and also drove people to Audible. It was the bee's knees. I think I did most of that back in 2020 and 2021. The thing that I did that I should not have done is I uploaded my entire books all at once. And what YouTube really wants is YouTube's kind of looking for weekly uploads. It likes that. And so because I uploaded my entire books all at once, I kind of, even though I had like 25 or something like that, I burned through them and then it was done. What I do intend to do at some point is upload them in chunks. I'm not going to go all the way down to chapter, but I'm probably going to do like 3 or 4 chapter chunks. I'm going to find places in the books where there's good cliffs, good like pulls to the next one, and then upload them like that. And that way I can keep doing like weekly uploads. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll do full book uploads after I do the weekly uploads. So I'm going to basically pull everything down and then start over in a way. Uploading all the different chapters, and then I'll do full books, and then maybe I'll do like a full series upload, like a 60-hour video or something like that, if I can. I think I've got actually I'll have to see that's possible to do a 60-hour upload, but something like that, something where I can just keep repackaging stuff to create more content will be the way to go. I might also consider at some point getting a lot of my books I can get with my rights back because they've been with Tantor for over 7 years, I think. Or 5 years. I know a bunch of them are out of the contract. I can't remember if some of the stuff I have is 7 years with Tantor and some is 5. But I might consider pulling them back, getting them re-narrated, and then putting them out myself. So something, but yeah, I really do feel like it's a no-brainer to get your content up on YouTube as well. If you own it. Then it says my new book is Small Town Enemies to Lovers Vampires. I'm laughing. I'll get through this. I mean, if you got it, like I said, even if you're writing something that is like not all the rage right now, you still have a massive audience. It might be a little bit harder to find them. I feel like if you can, like, it's a lot of stuff, like you can take like a well-worn concept like Enemies to Lovers Vampires and give it a twist and make it fun and interesting. There's lots of ways to do that. So do not despair just because I said like generally a particular thing might be tired. And I just pulled it out of my butt. I actually don't know if enemies to lovers and vampires is tired. I just was like just guessing. Um, I feel like it's gotten a little bit harder to market than it was in its heyday, but that might be because a lot of people are doing the same old. And if you've got like a new idea, like Small Town, or you make it fun in Gilmore Girls or something like that, I don't know what you're doing, then it could totally work. Fledgling puffins get distracted by city lights when the migration begins. They have to be captured, taken to a dark cliff. Oh, so we actually might be in the right place for that. And flung off into the night sky to go do puffin things. Oh my goodness. Really? Off a dark cliff in the night sky. Oh my God. I guess then because then their magnetic um, North Pole, South Pole vision would kick in and they can know where to fly with all the lights. Huh. Well, we might be in the exact right place for that. All right. Chris says, I want to reduce my prices across the board. My current sales ads have a headline with price. Removing or changing this headline will hurt the ad, right? Yes. Should I wait till it's ad tanks? I mean, if this ad is like a big money maker for you, then yes, do wait, because changing that headline will. I mean, does this particular headline get used a lot? I'm assuming maybe you're using dynamic creative. Um, if this headline gets used a lot and this is a moneymaker ad for you, I probably wouldn't go messing with it. If it's not, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. Or like if you do a break down your headlines and this particular headline isn't getting any play, then you can yeet this headline and you'll be fine. This, by the way, is why I always say don't put prices in your ads, because it stands a good chance of biting you in the butt, as you're experiencing here. What are your prices at right now that you want to reduce them, by the way? I'm curious. Small Town, Second Chance, Small Town Sister Saga. Oh, I'm so sorry, Rosa. I mean, it's not impossible. It doesn't mean that you can't make a living, because I swear, every scenario that I describe where it's harder to sell books, there's someone making a very good living doing that. So don't take me saying that on average, I see a particular thing is harder to do to mean that you can't be successful at it or you wasted your time. Because like I said, I fall into that. Why did you bother writing any books in this the way you did category? And it worked. So it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means if you're looking for something new to do and the world is your oyster, it kind of makes sense to pick something that you could write well and is a little more evergreen, as Harmony put it. Or is it Melody? Melody, sorry. The Small Town is still strong, by the way. If you do the, is this already written, by the way, Rosa? I think this is. I think this is a series that we've looked at before. And actually, this is something I've done with authors before. We've had books in a series. We look at the read through, and the read through tanks at a certain point, and we talk about why. And so this is one where it was the women, and it followed the women. And then I said, well, who's the dude in the book that no one's reading? And she's like, oh, well, he's this guy, and he's been in a couple of the previous books, but he wasn't super likable and whatnot. I'm like, well, that's why. You made him too unlikable, too much of a fixer-upper. You need to give him a save the cat moment in a prior book, and that will improve the read-through into the book that isn't working. She made the change, gave him a save the cat moment, and boom, the read-through into that other book went on, because he suddenly became a redeemable character and someone that the readers could see having a redemption arc would be interesting to read. So that's totally something that you can deal with. Oh, Jill is still kind of stressed out. We're working through it though. And this is related to our move up to Canada. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. Jill actually told me earlier that she's doing too much adulting and needs to stop, which is the reason for the name of this stream. Oh snap! People ask me about U.S. politics in Canada. I told them I'm willing to discuss USA politics as much as Americans discuss Canadian politics. I like it. I'm with you on that. That's awesome. I'm going to use that. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. I'm doing swell. It's like a Bronte novel. I've not read Bronte, but it is. I was not prepared for how gorgeous it is here. So I'm really happy about it. And I've even seen it in summer. Like most of the trees here are just still twigs sticking out of the ground. It's probably going to look amazing in like 3 weeks. You'll see a lot of buds forming on the branches. I'm pretty excited to see this place all leafed up. Good for Puffin Rescue Field Cliffs. The birds both fly. They're not penguins. All right. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to look into the puffins, Troy. I'm going to do it. Did you put complete books or chapter at a time? So I guess I answered that question. I put complete books and I regret doing it. All right, Jennifer, I've been thinking about using YouTube for audio. Do you recommend an account in your pen name or publishing imprint? Your publishing imprint isn't a part of your author brand. So do it in your pen name. Like there's no point in building a brand around the publishing name that you use for your books unless it's a really big part of your brand, which for all of us, I would dare say, is not. So do it in your author brand. You want it to be searchable. It's all about SEO, right? Someone searches for your pen name and they find your books on YouTube as well. But if it's your publisher name, it's not going to look super compelling. My channel, I'm a little bit different because my brand is the universe, Aeon 14. So my channel is Aeon 14 that they're all under. But that's also part of my brand and is not the publisher. The publisher of my books is Wooden Pen Press. And the only way you'll ever see that is if you look at the copyright page. Actually, not even then. I don't even know if, I guess it's going to show up on the ISBN because the Wooden Pen Press has the ISBN registration. That's it. I don't push Wooden Pen Press at all. I'm going to toss up puffins whether they want it or not. Right. I'm going to have to tell Eva about this. Eva will be pretty excited about the puffin situation. All right, have one series in that. Okay, what you're talking about. Maybe there won't be two. Well, I mean, if there are other ideas you think that could work for you, do think about it. Thanks, Amanda. It's been a while since I've seen you around. It was a big undertaking. Like we moved countries in 6 weeks, and we went from like not having our house organized to move at all to signing a purchase and sale yesterday to sell our house. So we did a lot. Jill has moved mountains, especially. I just moved a U-Haul truck and carried a lot of things. Although I did go to the bank yesterday, like I said, and do adult things in the bank. It's crazy. All right, Kristen said she wants to lower her books. My ebooks on retail are $7.99, $6.99 in my store. Others in genre are $5.99. This is US, I assume, right? Or is this on your own store? Okay, right. Sure, that looks like a good move actually. Bring it down a little bit, but also on your store, are you doing bundles? Because bundles are really the way to go with. Oh my God, you're right, Linda. I live in Canada. I have a Canadian business. I can get free ISBNs. Ah, Americans. No, I'm just kidding. What, poor Americans. You have to pay money for ISBNs. You're like, I think Americans are the only people in the world that have to pay money for ISBNs. Everybody else gets them for free. I could be wrong. Some other countries might charge for it, but in Canada, they're free. Unfortunately, I bought 1,000 of them, so I've still got plenty. Be a little while. Hey, Peter said the same thing. Did crossing the border feel like a Von Trapp family moment? I'm drawing a blank. The name, my brain says the name should mean something, but I'm not entirely sure. Is Von Trapp the family vacation family? Kind of Sound of Music. Oh my God, I have not watched Sound of Music in 40 years. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. All right, Amanda sold a house and it was so stressful. It wasn't in the quarter what you guys do. Yeah, go Jill Cooper. Exactly. She rocked it. Because when Eve and I came up here and like gone across borders, all the unpacking and everything, Jill spent 3 days like scrubbing the entire house top to bottom to make sure it showed really well. So she did a ton of work to get that done. She's really worried that her visitor status in Canada will run out before she gets her permanent residency and she'll have to go back to the States. And I keep saying, we don't have to go back to the States. The three of us can go on vacation in Spain because it'll end up being like December or so when that has to happen. So we'll have Christmas in freaking Spain or Bavaria or something like that, right? We'll go to Ingolstadt and go to the Christmas markets, and then we'll come back and reset the visitor status. Like, it's perfectly reasonable to me. And everybody knows this but me. You guys are like Mallory, Sound of Music. It's like literally watched it half paying attention in my grandparents' basement 40 years ago. So it just ain't there no more. Um, and I'm like, oh, you're not gonna die, honey. You're not allowed to. You have to keep going. William says Bavaria is beautiful in winter, just like the sound of music. I mean, I've been to Bavaria in the winter, so yeah. I used to work for a company that flew us to Europe quite a bit, and we got to go to Christmas markets in Europe. We did Ingolstadt, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of, and München. And she can come here if you need some in Michigan, not from the border, and a big pool for her to float in. There's a tiki bar in the with in-pool seating and everything. There you go, honey. There's your little oasis. It's the border crossing that's the scary part, though. But yeah, that is definitely an option. Julie has a fair number of people in the U.S. that said she can come hang with them. But I personally am like Spain, Bavaria, Mediterranean vacation. Like, let's do something like that. Let's check out Portugal. Because Portugal's like plan C or D. If Canada goes belly up, then we're heading over to Portugal. But I feel like I've exhausted the authorly topics to talk about today. So I mean, the other big thing that, of course, that we're dealing with is how to move our business, and do we move our business from the United States to Canada? All sorts of things like that. But that's going to be a topic for another day as we learn more and more about what we need to do there. It's a lot to think about, but it's pretty cool. There's some cool stuff going on. I don't know. It's kind of fun in a way to feel like we're doing a fresh start on a bunch of things, like signing up for new stuff and registering, and everything's all like clean, new, and shiny. So I like that angle. The Azores, those are those islands, right? Kind of north. No, they're south of Portugal, aren't they? They're like off the coast of Morocco, or am I thinking of the wrong place? Oh, we'll stay in business. Don't you worry. We're not going anywhere. We're gonna be keeping at it. 100%. Yeah, it's funny. I came to Canada just as William's leaving. Like, I guess we can only have so many of us, and we got to kick someone out if someone comes back. Must be how that goes. But it was fabulous chatting with all of you. I should warn you, by the way, this is so-called lunch with Mel, but for me, it's almost 2:00 now, because we're in these strange and little-known Atlantic time zone now. Like, us and Eastern Brazil are the only places in the world that use this time zone. It's just a little pocket of the world. Between North America and Europe. I'm thinking of the wrong ones then. Not cool enough to stay in Canada. You're absolutely cool enough to stay in Canada, William. 100%. That's the line of the stream. Not cool enough to stay in Canada. Time zones are a lot. Canada has ridiculous time zones. Like, I've talked about this before, but for those of you who've not heard this particular spiel, so of course, Atlantic time is one time zone further east of Eastern Standard Time. So we're 3 hours off GMT. However, Newfoundland and Labrador are half an hour off of Atlantic. So they're like an hour and a half earlier than, say, New York City, which is weird, right? Why is there a time zone that's half an hour off? And the funny thing is that Quebec is EST, and then Labrador, which butts up against Quebec, is this weird half hour off. So if you cross from Quebec into Labrador, you skip the entire Atlantic time zone and end up in the Newfoundland time zone. But if you want things to be even weirder, south of Newfoundland, right in the middle, like right directly in the middle of Newfoundland. So if you're in the capital of Newfoundland, you go west to these two islands that are part of France. They're half an hour east of Newfoundland. So you're like, at that point, you're in these islands that are well within the borders of Canada normally. They're part of France, and your time zone is closer to England than it is to Montreal. It's just whack. Time zones are nuts over here. I think everybody was drunk when they came up with what to do in this part of the world. Yeah, that's right, Steph. We totally are in the future, and we're happy about it. Yes, we are not doing that weird half-hour thing exactly, because Newfoundland. What are you going to do when Canada joins the EU? Imagine if Canada joined the EU and it got to be part of the Shenzhen zone. That would be pretty ridiculous. I doubt it would get to happen, because Canada has too large of an unsecured border with the United States to be allowed into Shenzhen, but it'd be pretty nuts if it was. Anyway, we've gone far afield now at this point. So I am going to bid you all farewell. I hope you have an absolutely fabulous weekend. I am going off to my chiropractor appointment to get my back all squiggled into place. After all the moving, it definitely needs it. But I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel kind of thing. Also, for those of you who are in our school community, I'm doing writing sprints in just over an hour at 2 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. Atlantic. And actually, I think I made this one public on YouTube. So if you follow me on YouTube, you can join in Sprint even if you're not part of our school community. Every now and then I do some that are open to the public. So we'll be doing some sprinting. And I know some of you have done that with me in the past. Like Amanda used to hang out in Sprint all the time too. So it might be fun. Hey, James. Best of luck. We've forgotten Toronto's Eastern, not Central appointment. Oh, yeah. I've made similar mistakes, James, like just getting a little bit off on like Chicago. I can never remember is that one Central or Eastern because it's really close to the line. But anyway, I bid you all adieu. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you around. Ciao.